right now, there's multiple guys that I'm interacting with regularly that they talk like job, and they feel the pressure of boss on them a lot, and that's on Saturday going into Sunday, especially Sunday night. They start to develop a lot of like anxiety or like worry about like, okay, not excitement about, hey, this is what I'm doing with my life, but oh gosh, here we go, because now I got to measure up to like the expectations of what the boss says.
Yep.
And so their focus is on this earthly authority.
Yeah.
Now, we know that the Word of God says all authority on heaven and earth comes from God. Now, that doesn't mean it's all godly. Just like Pharaoh wasn't godly, but did God give Pharaoh authority?
Yeah.
Yeah, he did. The Israelites' opportunity was to see through the earthly authority and see a higher one. That even if you're making bricks under a Pharaoh, make bricks for me.
Yeah.
And do this in a way that shapes you as a people so that I can deliver you from the place of the job into the promise. And they had to learn that first. They couldn't skip over that. There was something about that submission to an earthly authority that even is not good, so that you can learn submission to a heavenly authority that is good.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Rising Tide podcast. We're so excited that you're here. We're in a new setting. This is pretty awesome. My name is Austin Samuelson. I'm here with Matt Carpenter and my good friend.
Together again.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Hey, are you a little bit sore from yesterday?
Actually, I was going to say, good to be together again. And we were just together yesterday. So,
I'm a little sore this morning. I had to stretch.
So we spent yesterday working on a project that Austin's in the middle of. And so we were sod layers yesterday, which threw me back to my landscaping days, like with Marty Cromie up in Minnesota. And so, I got to lay some sod with you yesterday, and it was awesome. It was awesome. Had some young strong backs out there.
We did.
And then there was my back that was out there as well that wasn't quite as young or strong. But no, it was awesome, man.
You're the wisdom, and I'm just like, let's get it done, So
hey, it takes every part, So I'm like trying to stay ahead of the game, because I'm like, if we can make sure everything's lined out in advance, then other people can come along and do this stuff. And you're the one with the big plan in your mind that's like, okay, here's where we're going. Which is kind of cool how it all worked out, because like there was some young college guys out there, which was awesome. And really great guys, hard workers. It honestly was encouraging to me just to see those guys out there.
It really was, yeah. I mean, you never know. I didn't know the guys. There were some friends of some friends, and they showed up, and they didn't stop. And
no, they killed it. They were awesome.
6 hours straight. Yeah,
really, really awesome. And awesome to see your kids out there too. Yeah. Like they were in the mix, and so I was talking with Ford at one point, and man, like. I could talk to Ford for an hour, like he's just his eyes light up, his face, he's engaging. Like I love him a lot, man. Yeah. And so I'm like talking to him. He's like, yeah. So I'm out here, I'm making dollars per hour, like he's like pumped about about making money, know. And he's like, I'm trying to push it right now. I'm like at 3 hours, and so that's $15, because it's $5 every hour. Yeah. And I'm like, I get it, man. So. And he's like, I'm going to try and get to 4. I was like, so you can get $20. He's like, yeah. And I asked him this. I said, so what are you hoping to spend money on? Like, what are you? Because he was so excited about getting $20. And he says this to me. He's like, yeah, I don't know. I guess maybe Christmas because. Christmas was really expensive, and I just wasn't prepared for it. I wasn't prepared for that.
That's so him. I wasn't prepared.
I just wasn't prepared. It just caught me off guard. That's what he said. He's like, just wasn't prepared. Christmas caught me off guard this year. And but I honestly, like, even in light of our last couple of podcasts, talking about leading our kids in generosity, of engaging with Christmas, not of what I can get out of it. I mean, isn't that amazing?
It's so cool.
And how old is Ford?
Ford, he just turned 7.
So he's 7 years old, and Christmas has a completely different meaning to him now that he's planning for 11 months in advance.
Yeah. Isn't
that's
so
amazing.
Cool? Yeah.
Like, how many 7-year-olds are at the spot where they're looking ahead to next Christmas and they're making money in January?
Yeah.
And his thought with that money, his first thought with that money is, I need to start getting ready for Christmas next year. And not about what I can get, but what I can give. Like, that's like, I was just like, I mean, I told him it was awesome, but I wanted to grab him and hug him and be like, dude, you got it, man. You're so far ahead of it. I mean, you're probably ahead of me. Like,
exactly.
I'm not thinking about generosity at Christmas next year, and you are. Like, how amazing is it to have kids that are like, for one, out there helping you with your work, but also like they're thinking ahead about God's work.
Yeah.
How was that for you, just to watch your boys out there?
It was one of the best days ever yesterday. It really was, and that was the highlight. Just watching them work, watching him interact with you, and it was absolutely incredible. So yeah.
And I mean, all your boys were getting to be around even those college guys that were like solid dudes that are out there working hard.
Yep.
Love the Lord.
Yeah.
And like to have multiple generations participating in one task together, which, I mean, honestly, I think this frames even this next conversation really well. That is, we're kind of at this place where we're dialoguing about purpose and peace, and basically talking about how can we live at a place where we're not trading purpose for peace or vice versa. Because I do think a lot of times it works like that, and it's not that we can't get in the place where we're like, oh, I've got no peace and no purpose, but I think it's really challenging to get in a place where I'm living a life that I feel great purpose in, but also feel great peace. Yeah. And so one of the things we kind of said what would be 2 episodes ago now, I think, is that often when we get in production mode of like, I'm going to do something, I'm going to accomplish something aspirational or motivational, like I'm gonna drive towards this. We often as men do that at the expense of peace. Yeah. Because we end up violating our own belief system or our own God-given identity. And so it's like, oh, I accomplished the thing, but man, I'm not the person that I want to be. Yeah. I did it at the expense of my family. I did it at the expense of my marriage. I did it at the expense of my relationship with God. And then we try to correct, and we say, oh, I need to elevate peace in my life. And we do that at the expense of purpose. And then we're like, oh, man, I'm spending time with my family. I'm doing the right thing. I'm going to church. I'm doing all this stuff. But then we're like, there's that nagging thing inside of us. It's like, but why does all this matter? Yeah. And what am I accomplishing? Yeah. Like, what am I doing with my life? And so that's been the dialogue we've been in the middle of. So last episode, we talked a lot about a new view of Sabbath, or like, let's not even call it new. It's a New Testament view of Sabbath, because it's, at this point, it's a couple thousand years old. But I do think for most people that are still trying to interact with Sabbath are probably doing that in an Old Testament model. Mm-hmm. And Old Testament's great as long as it's the lens through which we view the New Testament. Mm-hmm. And that's the best way to view the New Testament. So I think that the picture that was there yesterday as we were laying sod, we got generations together that are all committed to one mission or one job, and it was like God was present with us in several ways. Yeah. And that's kind of where we're trying to go, I think, with this episode is, if rest is available on every day that's called today, and that is a place of peace, but it's also a place of purpose, then how do you rest while you work, so to speak? And I really think it's a worthy conversation, and I think there was a part of it that was really represented yesterday.
Yeah, it really was. And this is just one small practic of something as you're talking about. We had, you and I still in my mind relate to more being at the age of the college students, and I'm nowhere near that anymore.
I've done that. I've done that for too long.
To your term, we had multiple generations.
Forever 21.
Yeah, exactly. But the thing of giving, you've said this to me often. I just think this is a really this little practic that I love so much, but giving our boys better heroes.
Yes.
They're just a few phases up. My oldest is 11, so my 11 and 9-year-old, I mean, they were just, and those guys were so kind and gracious to my boys, especially when they started talking trash about the NFL and everything else, But it was they were better. They represented better heroes for them.
Yes.
To watch them work hard, to watch them interact well and respectfully with each other, and and I think anytime we can offer that for our children to have those better heroes, there's a really big win in that.
It really is, and I would say as a society, we have compartmentalized in a lot of ways, and we've kind of talked about this of how compartmentalization, it would be the enemy of true discipleship. And so if we want discipleship to happen, it has to be about contextualization, not compartmentalization. And I definitely think we've compartmentalized even by age a lot of times, and that, okay, so you go to school with everybody that's your same age, you go to church with everybody that's your same age. And so your interactions with relationships end up being very monolithic in regards to age and even often interests. And so, probably there's probably a whole episode there, even just about heroes that, like, let's try and remember, we can come back to that, because I do think that's a huge thing that we're missing in our society, is the presence of good heroes. And it's not that there's not good humans. Yeah. But we're not connecting the dots of generations and or relationships that are focused in the right way. And so I think we've lost a lot of opportunity with heroes. And I think that even if I look at the generation that is kind of growing up on screens right now, they have heroes. They're just, a lot of them, really poor ones. Right. Whether we look at Hollywood or the music industry as heroes, or if we look at even athletics, which I think you might find a few better heroes in that. But then if you look on YouTube, or wherever, like, man, I think heroes is a huge thing. Yeah, so I think that's one that's worth coming back around to as well. But it was really awesome. Let's kind of talk through again. I think you framed this a couple of episodes ago, even just in your journey with finding peace, but then this nagging thing inside of you that's like, man, but God, what does this all count for? And so kind of where are you at in that journey? Even from yesterday, was there any perspective? What did you, that God was like, hey, did you see this that I was doing here?
Absolutely. Because I think, what we talked about before was, peace versus purpose, and you just talked about this, right? And then also too, I intersected in the last conversation. I have this tendency, and I don't know if others do, I'm sure they do, but sometimes when you're seeking peace and you're lacking purpose, you can try to bridge the gap with projects.
Yeah,
and we defined projects last time as temporal, just they can be distractions. They can be good things.
And it's something I'm doing versus something God is doing. I'm partnering with him in it.
Exactly. But really, I think the way you kind of summed it up when we were talking last time was it's very temporal. There's no eternal value in it, right? And so it's easy to get distracted by those two. But I think even just going back to yesterday, talking through that of like, okay, we have this purpose. Ash and I, we have this this purpose that we feel like God is pulling us towards, and it's around this property, and we're working on. But getting to see just the pieces of that come together, but then also getting to see the elements of that flow through with our friendship, and I'm just so thankful that you came over there and helped us with that, but all the things we've talked about with the boys. And to me, I think it's what I'm learning in this season is seeing those like nuggets throughout the day of God saying, hey, look, there's that purpose in that we're talking about. And I would describe it right now as like, I'm in this season of transitioning, and we talked about this last time of transitioning. I had this very clear purpose with our first business, and it was very clear, it was very defined, and this is what it is. And as we've stepped out of the day-to-day operations of that, we're now asking God, okay, what's this? What's our purpose? Yes. What are you calling us into? We still have involvement with the business, but our purpose has shifted a little bit. And I would say right now for us, it's a little bit unclear, but it's starting to come into focus a little bit more and more.
Yes.
And I think God's doing that in little kind of breadcrumbs, and He's given us, but He's teaching me like, hey, look for it in the moment, look for it throughout the day. And so yesterday was one of those days where we got to see some of that and got to experience it and really enjoy it. And
without a doubt.
Yeah.
So yesterday the project was laying sod.
Yeah.
And how many pallets of sod?
we did 18 pallets.
18 pallets of sod. That was the project. And very much could have done that without God.
Yeah.
Without hearing His voice, without engaging in relationship. I'm not trying to put words in your mouth at all, but when I looked at it with you, with your boys, with those college guys, and even just to be there as a friend, as a brother with you, there was so much more that was happening there than sod.
Yeah.
And
really
so
was.
what if you're trying to frame that yesterday, even just for your boys, what did they learn through it?
Well, they learn just the physical aspect of what it means to lay sod. I mean, I think anytime we can teach our children, like, this is how something works, so you drive by and you see something like, that's how that yard was put in. I think
so
that's
it's a
huge.
practical skill that came out of it.
Right. But I think then they also learned, like, okay, hey, we have a goal. I told them that they had the opportunity to make some money. So
learning the value of $1.
Yeah.
Just
Yep.
and the value of their own time.
Yeah.
That's important.
And it was freezing cold.
Yeah.
And so they had to learn the value of persevering.
Yeah. And they did too.
Yeah.
I mean, like, and part of it, I think that they learned because those college guys were there.
Yeah. Yeah. They didn't want to give up.
They kept on going back to the sod pile. And it was like, man, I'm just going to go again, because I think the heroes that were there kept on going back to the sod pile.
My boys are awesome, but I will say they probably would have wanted to opt out a little bit sooner.
Yeah.
Had they not had the college kids there.
Yes.
And even Jet, as we're walking back to the house after they had left, he had wore shorts, which is so Jet, It's 30 degrees, wind's blowing, right? But he wore rubber boots with shorts, So we're in Arkansas. That's a good, a good redneck thing to do there.
That's right.
But his legs were so chafed and he had rashes. It looked like he had been riding a horse for,
right.
4 days straight. But because of that, because of the better heroes, because of, hey, we knew we're going to do these 18 pallets today. There was some motivation. Like, he was determined, like, it hurts, but I'm going to keep going. And so that was really exciting for me to see as his father, to see, okay, hey, there's some grit there. We're building some grit.
Yeah, and the resilience that came from community.
Yeah.
That just like, I know that I'm not doing this alone.
Yeah.
That, I mean, whether it be you or me or the college guys or your kids, I think any of us, if we were alone doing that, we would have quit way sooner.
Yeah.
Not even just in relationship to like 19 pallets, but even just in relationship to time.
Yeah.
There was a perseverance and resilience that came through community.
And I would even, if we took this even and stepped back a little bit, one of the things I've really learned watching you, my wife Ashton, she is so good at this as well. But last week I had this plan of like, okay, we're going to lay sod, we're going to do this. And I knew it needed to be done. And Saturday morning I woke up and I'm like, I'm still kind of prepping the yard for it and everything. Yeah. And I started getting really, a little bit, pretty anxious because I'm like, okay, I know I've got 18 pallets showing up. I have no plan for how to lay it. Originally it was going to be me and this other guy that helps out occasionally. And I can't get a hold of him. And I'm starting to really worry. And Ashton, I'm sharing this with her and she's like, let's just stop and pray about it. And we did that, and God just totally shifted the direction of this. And so it went from just being this little project of like, hey, let's just get it done, let's knock it out, to really this beautiful day of like my boys growing, us getting to, we met some new guys yesterday, we got to work together. It really turned into this totally new thing.
Yes.
And it went from just like, let's get it done, to saying, okay, God, we know we have this task in front of us, but how can we invite you into it?
Yes.
And how can we see you show up and provide? And he did that in ways that I never expected, never could have, I mean, Saturday morning, I didn't plan to ask you. You're just asking what we're doing. And you're like, well, I got some time, you know? But the way that God showed up and really just turn the day just because and that was, I give Ashton all the credit on that. But
Man, I think that's incredible
Yeah.
because like the project got completed.
yeah,
But if we look at everything else that the Lord did,
yeah,
that he completed as we were working on sod.
yeah,
Did the sod get done?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. The sod got done. And it got done better than it probably would have gotten done or at least way faster.
yeah.
But then,
better.
but then multiple other things were accomplished as well.
Yeah.
The building of friendship and brotherhood
Yeah.
through it, like the chance for me to just kind of be in it with you, like
Yeah.
that was an accomplishment. Your opportunity to be in it with your boys
Yeah.
and to watch all those things happen inside of them, that is like way more important to you than sod.
Yeah.
I know that.
Yeah. 100%.
And then even these college guys, and I mean, as part of it, I'd love to hear their perspective on
Yeah.
it, because I think probably a lot was accomplished even inside of them.
Yeah.
So they came and did something, but I think God did something inside of them too. Even just if they're anything like my son, and they although those guys said they knew my second son Lane, and they're at that place where they're anticipating marriage, family, all that stuff, and man, to get to be there and to see you as a dad with your boys, I'm sure it changed them.
Yeah.
I really am. I'm sure it changed them. And
Yeah.
so, and I think that's the framework that we want to move forward with, of when we're talking about peace with purpose, that whenever we do something, God always wants to do way more through
Yeah.
it.
That is such a good
If
word.
we'll let him do
Yeah.
it. If we'll let him be in it with us. And so if we're talking even about Sabbath, which is, we talked at length about that, not just being a 1 in 7, and not to do away with a 1 in 7, but there's got to be a way that we can have every day that's called today a place of Sabbath.
Yeah.
And so that means there has to be some kind of not just resting from your work, but resting as you work. And that's the crux of what we want to dive deeper into today. So let's bridge off of the past podcast. And we talked a lot, Hebrews chapter 3, going into chapter 4, that was so much about meeting the conditions of Sabbath. Today, which is not yesterday, not tomorrow. If you hear his voice, which means you have to elevate the still small voice, which is really probably more about turning down the volume of all the other voices, so we can actually hear God's voice, and then not hardening our hearts. In other words, are we actually doing what God has told us to do? Even if it sounds ridiculous, even if it's like march around Jericho and then shout, and it's like that's the most ridiculous plan. But if we're not obedient to it, unless we combine it with faith, we'll never enter His rest. Yeah. So all of that is on this context that's talking about the Israelites, and they're leaving Egypt, being in the desert, in the wanderings, and then going into the Promised Land. And so all of the talk of Sabbath there is not about a day. It's talking about a place or a way of living. That is, they made it to the Promised Land, and some didn't. Yeah. And so all that framework is about, okay, how are these people disqualified, and how are these qualified? And then our opportunity is to either participate with those who are disqualified, or to make every effort to qualify ourselves for Sabbath or for the Promised Land. So one of the ways I love to kind of like talk about this is even just highlighting, we utilize, I would say maybe at least 3 words, but probably 3 words generally for what we call how we make a living, which is also, that's interesting language.
Yeah.
If you really think about,
Yeah.
like how are you making a living, as though we can make life.
Yeah.
And so there's probably just a foundational piece that is really God's the giver of life. We don't make a living. God gives us life, and we get to participate in it. And that is the place of the Promised Land. But even if we talk, what are the 3 main words that we use? I would say we use job, occupation, and vocation. And we kind of use them interchangeably.
Yeah.
As well, what's your job? It's the same thing as my occupation, same thing as my vocation, and fair enough. But if you take those words apart, they each one of them mean a different thing. And they also have a different experience that's associated with them. And I would say a different thing that like they cultivate inside of our perspective in our minds. Okay. So I'll ask you this, like, if you think about the word job and you're like, yeah, I've got a job, or you hear somebody talk about their job.
Yeah.
Okay. What do you hear in that?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's, if someone has a job or they're saying, I need to go get a job, it's very like me focused. I need to pay bills. I need to, I need spending money. I need whatever. And so I'm going to go clock in, get paid, be done.
Yep.
That's when we hear that. And that's what we've often used that term. It's just a job for that person or whatever, or this is just
so it probably implies short term.
Yep.
It probably implies survival.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is either about paying bills, which probably is debt relief. Like I'm behind, and so I need to catch up.
Yep.
Is probably in the framework of job. It's survival. It's like just getting by. Nobody talks about a job in the sense of like, oh, I got high aspirations for my job.
Right.
It has all those implications. I would throw in there probably too that a job most of the time has a focus on a boss.
Yeah.
That is, if you got a job, you have a boss,
Yeah.
and what do?
What the boss tells
You
you.
just do whatever the boss tells you, and you probably only do it if the boss is looking or if he's checking up on you, right?
Right.
And you've employed enough people in jobs that that the boss's eyes matter.
Yeah.
And your job can still be a good experience.
Yeah.
But it's probably contingent on the boss.
Yeah.
Okay. It's probably less about like what you're doing, but man, if you got a good boss, okay, I can do a job for longer term. It's less short term. And so, and I think that's at least some important factors about when we say job, what does it mean? So if we talk about the word occupation, the root of that word is occupy.
Yeah.
And generally, what are you occupying?
I don't know, space. I mean,
Time and space,
Yeah.
right? Time and space. And so you're actually in occupation, you probably are thinking less about your boss and more about your time. And so you're trading time.
Okay.
And you're trading time for money.
Yeah.
And so it can have a sense of greater longevity. So if somebody says, oh, I've got an occupation, you don't think, oh, you're probably only going to be doing that for 6 months.
Yeah.
They're talking about something that has some longevity to it. But even at the root of the word, it's I'm just occupied.
Yeah.
And so they probably still have a boss, but they probably have some more autonomy. And so they have some freedom. But if you talk to somebody that interacts with an occupation, generally because the number one thing that they're thinking about is time, what they'll communicate is things of like being busy. And so you talk to them about what they do for a living, and they're like, yeah, I'm busy. Busy doing this. I've got these reports coming up. I've got these clients. I've got this, da, 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 da. And so it's like, it's busyness, and it probably is less about the boss. It's less about survival. They've got a little bit longer term, but they probably would still describe it as the grind.
Yeah.
That they're just being ground. And they're diminishing as they're doing it.
Yeah.
Now, probably with the job, that's a grind as well. But in that one, you're probably getting ground by the boss. And this one, you're probably getting ground by time.
Yeah. Yeah, or even, I wonder, even if it's this is what I'm going to do. This is the route I've chosen, and I've just resigned to that, and I'm just going to stick it out until retirement,
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like, so you're kind of ground by the fact that I don't have purpose in this. I don't have passion, and I'm just here.
Yep.
I'm going to get it done, and I'm looking forward to that week vacation. I'm looking forward to that long weekend, whatever,
Man, I think that's probably said probably the best. That it is without purpose and it's without passion.
Yeah.
And I think that's absolutely right. Like there's no vision to it.
Yeah.
Like I don't dream, I don't imagine, I don't hope for it. It's just boom, like in and out. And if I do have an aspiration, it's not for what happens there. It's for what happens afterwards.
Yeah.
And this is where all this starts to come into frame, okay? Because in Hebrews 3 and 4, we just said it's referring back to these 3 stages in the Israelites' lives, collective lives.
Okay.
One that was in Egypt, one that was in the desert for 40 years, and then the third one that was in the promised land. Okay? So if we think back to Egypt, what was Egypt for the children of Israel?
It was a job.
It was the job.
Yeah.
And what was their job?
They had to
Make bricks.
Yeah, keep up with
Just
Pharaoh's
keep
quota.
on making
Yeah.
bricks, like and meet the quota.
Yeah.
And why? Well, because you got a boss that's looking over you, and all of his enforcers, right?
Yeah.
And so, man, I just got to do what I'm told. And they're building bricks, and they're building an empire that they will never enjoy. Like they literally are building the pyramids, one of the greatest kind of historical empires on the earth that they would never enjoy for themselves.
Yeah.
Which, man, there's a lot in just that. You
Yeah.
know, that is
Oh, yeah.
how many men, their experience with making a living is bricks. Man, I'm just making bricks, making bricks. And it's like, is it a part of a pyramid? Yeah, but it's one I'll never enjoy.
Yeah.
It's for somebody else, for some other purpose. I'm just making bricks. You know, it kind of makes me think about, you know, even in you know, they talk about the factories in China where they make iPads, and somebody will spend 30 years of their life at one spot on the assembly line just doing this in assembling an iPad and never actually see a completed iPad.
Wow.
Never even see it.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
that's job. You know, like that's just like I just do what I'm told.
Yeah.
And do you collect the money? Yeah, you collect the money, but you never get ahead.
Yeah.
Right? Like you're just always in survival mode.
Yeah.
And that would absolutely have been the Israelites' experience.
Yeah.
I'm doing the thing that's required of me by the boss, but I'm never getting ahead. And in fact, what does the boss do?
Keeps up in the quota.
Up the quota,
Yeah.
and then decrease the materials.
Yeah.
Now you got to go find your own straw. I'm not going to use straw.
Yeah.
And so their experience, as far as with their purpose at the time, is like, man, this is just slavery. It's short term. Like we can't live long in this place.
Yeah.
But if we look at what do you think God was trying to teach them through Egypt?
Oh gosh. I mean,
I'm just
much.
throwing you out there.
Yeah.
But like, what?
Yeah.
If you're in the spot where that's your experience, is maybe to ask it a different way, is there a way to interact with God in the middle of a job?
Yeah, I think there is. I think in practicing the things we've talked about, gratitude, hope, you know, I mean, I think those are the first 2 things that come to mind, because you have to have hope that there's a better way. There's an opportunity for purpose and peace, you know?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and there are, I mean, I'll just say even right now, there's multiple guys that I'm interacting with regularly that they talk like job, and they feel the pressure of boss on them a lot, and that's on Saturday going into Sunday, especially Sunday night, they start to develop a lot of like anxiety or like worry about like, okay, not excitement about, hey, this is what I'm doing with my life, but oh gosh, here we go, because now I got to measure up to like the expectations of what the boss says.
Yep.
And so their focus is on this earthly authority.
Yeah.
Now, we know that the Word of God says all authority on heaven and earth comes from God. Now, that doesn't mean it's all godly, just like Pharaoh wasn't godly, but did God give Pharaoh authority?
Yeah.
Yeah, he did. The Israelites' opportunity was to see through the earthly authority and see a higher one. That even if you're making bricks under a Pharaoh, make bricks for me.
Yeah.
And do this in a way that shapes you as a people so that I can deliver you from the place of the job into the promise. And they had to learn that first. They couldn't skip over that. There was something about that submission to an earthly authority that even is not good, so that you can learn submission to a heavenly authority that is good. And that is absolutely what the Israelites learned. And it was learned, though, with the promise that is, I can and will deliver you from this. And so then deliverance looks like what? Well, it looks like God kind of one by one peels back the fingers of Pharaoh with each one of the plagues. And not only do they leave Egypt, but they loot Egypt as they leave, right? And it even says, this is all of the back pay of your wages. When they went to their neighbors and said, hey, do you have anything to send with us? And it says they looted Egypt, silver and gold, as much as they could carry with them. That was God saying, I know that you served well, even under an earthly authority that wasn't good. And because I saw you, I'm taking care of you. I'm providing for you. And he took something that was very short term and like oppressive, and he actually made it the platform for their redemption, which I think is awesome.
Amazing.
So that's Job.
Okay.
And I think absolutely there's so many parallels from Egypt and Job. The second one would be occupation. Okay, so they move out of Egypt through the Red Sea, and they move into this experience where in the desert, it says that God was over them in a cloud by day and a fire by night. Okay, which, if you think about what was that about? Why a cloud by day and fire by night? Well, if you're in the desert and during the day, what's your experience?
I mean, it's a desert. It's barren.
Yeah,
right?
hot, barren, no shade.
Yeah.
And so God says, I will manifest my presence in your life through a cloud that will both give you some direction, but also gives you protection along the way, right? That is, you need covering during the day. And so here's the cloud that will lead you. And as long as you stay with me, you can be in the desert and you can still be covered. And at night, then it would get cold and dark. What do you need?
You need light. You need heat.
You need a fire. So you get light and heat. And that really tells the story of everything that was in the desert. It was everything that they needed when they needed it. Even if you talk about manna, this kind of food that like just appeared on the ground, that even the name of it is literally, what is it? And so it's not like this was a normal occurrence. This is supernatural provision from God, but it's provision that only lasts for one day. So you can't store it up. If you try, it rots your house from the inside out. Okay, and so this manna provision that was it everything that they wanted? No, it was just everything that they needed. Not everything that you want, but everything that you need. And that is the space of occupation. We can either pass through occupation or we can stay there. And so when Hebrews is talking about, well, there was a people who were disqualified from rest. Why? Because either they stayed in Egypt in their mindset, and therefore then they lived their whole lives in occupation. So I think even more than job, for most men that I interact with, they're just because they're now older, they're not in jobs necessarily. Now there's still some things that are like kind of hanging on from there, but I would say so many more men are in the place of what they're actually doing is an occupation. And occupation, the desert ended up being for the children of Israel, it ended up being the place to die. For those who would not leave behind like the bondages of Egypt. That wouldn't learn the lesson of, if God is with us, then we're taken care of.
He can be against us,
And so that's where in Hebrews then it says, they heard the same gospel preached to them that we've had preached to us, but they did not combine it with faith. And so they got to the edge of the second body of water, not the Jordan, not the Red Sea, but now the Jordan. And then they got to the edge of a new superpower, not the Egyptians, but now the Canaanites. And they didn't take what God had done here and apply it to their next circumstance. And God says, then you will live just to die. And that was their existence.
Okay, say that again. they didn't take what they had seen God do and apply it to their next. We say that again.
Exactly.
That was
Yeah.
really good.
So looking back on the Egyptians, they could have, and should have said, well, that was the greatest superpower we had ever known.
Mm-hmm.
And so if God can peel back the fingers of Pharaoh, then the Canaanites have nothing that our God cannot accomplish.
Yeah.
But instead they said, no, we're now going to not look at God. We're going to look at ourselves and our future circumstance. And so they say, well, they're giants in there, and we look like grasshoppers in their eyes and in ours.
Yeah.
And so they didn't combine it with faith. They didn't take their previous experiences and apply it to their future circumstances that would have allowed them to pass over into this third place of promise.
Yeah.
And yeah, I would even ask you, what's your observation, whether it be of your own life, of, doing a job, running a business, and when whatever kind of thing you interact with, and probably different at different phases.
Yeah.
Or even just in the conversations you're having with people, like what do you hear in the hearts of men when they're engaged in making a living?
Yeah. I think, I just turned 40. You're a few years ahead of me. We're in this phase right now where, like you said, most of our peers they're not in a job. But they're in a place where I would say we are ignoring what God has done in the past, just what you were just talking about.
Yeah.
And, I think when you're in your 20s, you're coming out of, and you spent so many years around college students and watching, men and women launch into careers, launch into ministry, and do it in such a very faith-filled, purpose-filled excitement of like, man, God's called me to this. I don't have to worry about the details. I'm jumping in. And I think as life happens to us, we all of a sudden, we can make all these excuses, but the reality of it is we just get more fearful. Whether it's children, whether it's we bought a house now, whether it's all these things, right?
Yeah.
And so I think the tendency for us is we move into this season or phase of life where it's more of like, hey, I'm gonna really be protective, and I'm gonna be very scared.
That's so true.
And so, and I think that's probably a little bit what the Israelites were experiencing. They'd been out in the desert, they'd finally had some autonomy and so forth, and now when God's calling them to go fight another battle, they're saying, nope, can't do it.
Yes.
And so, what's all at play there? I don't know, but I think if I'm looking at my own life, is it exhaustion? Is it fear? Is it I want to protect? What are the things that are causing that? And leading me to walk up to the battle lines and say, no, God did it in the past, but I don't think He can do it now.
Yes.
And I think that's the thing that we have to really push back against and really be cognizant of. And I think what you're saying there is like, going back and looking at what God's done and having the faith to believe that He's going to keep doing it again if He's called us to that.
Yes.
And so I think going back to your question, like, what are you seeing? What are you feeling? Is like, I definitely see that in my own life, and I see that in the lives of others that I'm around of like, okay, we get to this place and it's like, okay, we have to, are we going to be willing to make that move? Are we going to be willing to step out and trust God again?
Yes. No, and you're bringing up I think a really important point that is the presence of risk that's involved in getting from, probably not necessarily getting from Egypt to the desert or to daily dependence, but the risk that's involved to get from daily dependence to promise.
Yeah.
And I think that was absolutely real. And yeah, I think there's a part of men that I think love to risk. At least there is in me. Like I probably am further on the scale of a risk taker than the average person even. Like I like that feeling of like just kind of having something on the line, like risking something, taking a chance. And certainly that can be bad if used in non-eternal ways.
Yep.
But I believe and have kind of preached this for years, that what we see God do in our lives, is directly proportional to the amount of risk that we will take for God.
Wow, that's good.
Now, it's not that you won't ever see God do anything, but you'll see it third person. You'll see God do something in somebody else's life.
Right.
And what that's supposed to do is fill us with faith that is, oh, man, God, if you can do that in Austin's life, then that's not about Austin. That's about you.
Yeah.
And so if you can do that in Austin's life, then you could surely do this in my life.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to take this risk with you. So I think that's a really important part. If we're talking about what is the practice to get from the place of occupation to our third thing, which is vocation.
Yeah.
And so job, occupation, vocation, slavery, wilderness, promised land. And that is really the context of all of the Hebrew stuff is what does it take to get to this place where 7 days a week, every day that's called today, you can live in the promised land. And that is God's plan for us. His plan is not 1 in 7 days with him. It's 7 days with him, whether we be in a place of inactivity or activity. How do we be present with the Lord? And so that's what we're framing as vocation. Okay, so job implies slavery, short term, getting by, and the voice of a boss. Occupation, it probably implies, let's call it medium term. Okay, and that could be your whole life.
Yeah,
because again, like they were there until they died.
Yeah,
and how many people are in an occupation that they will just keep on doing the thing until they die? But medium term in regards to eternity, that they don't experience anything in that with an eternal perspective, and so therefore they miss out on the long term impact of it. And again, the voice there is probably less about the boss and it's more about the voice of time. That's kind of what you hear all the time. Like I'm just clocking time. I'm just trying to get to vacation, trying to get to retirement. And then this third one would be vocation. And the root of the word vocation is voice.
I never knew that.
Yeah,
It
comes from the Latin vox. That is like that is you've heard a voice.
Okay.
Now in ministry, people talk about this. They talk about having a calling.
Yeah.
Right. And you've heard people talk about that, being like, well, when were you called into ministry? And even with that, they often talk about it once off, don't they?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And
Church camp.
And I heard this, I'm telling you, I heard this so many times, once I kind of came to Christ and started going in the ministry direction, people would want me to articulate my calling.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's part of the whole, ordination or licensing process or interview, in ministry. The interview
you have two testimonies then you have to share.
Yeah. So the interview is always has that question involved in it.
Okay.
Well, tell me about when you were called.
Okay.
And the implication with the question is that there was one time that you heard a voice.
Okay.
Well, if I'm honest, I always struggled with the question because I never felt like it was a one-off voice.
Okay.
What I would always say is, well, I know the point at which I shifted my focus and therefore then risked everything again.
Yeah.
I know that I was at the University of Nebraska as a straight-A student in engineering with all of these plans ahead of me and aspirations and dreams for the American dream. And I know the point exactly where I said, I found something more valuable than all of that stuff. And I found the presence of God and the purpose of God. And so I'm going to just give up on all that stuff. And I believed wholeheartedly I'd be poor for the rest of my life. I really did. Without a doubt, I was like, I'm gonna drive a beat up old Chevette. Okay, that was the picture in my mind, with the broken windshield and the primer panels.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, I can still see it in my mind. Yeah. I'm gonna live in a beige 1-bedroom apartment. I'm telling you, I saw it, Austin. Everything was beige. Yeah. And I was eating tortillas and peanut butter and ramen alone. that was my dream life.
There you go.
And what I mean by that is I had the picture of the American dream with the nice house, the nice car, the nice yard, the nice family.
Yeah.
And it was empty.
Yeah.
It was empty of true intimacy. It was empty of true purpose. And I was doing something I was good at.
Yeah.
I was doing engineering, which kind of always math and science came easy to me. But it was empty. And then there's this other life that was beige, and it was alone. It was peanut butter and tortillas. But it was somehow full. And it was full of God's presence, but also full of God's purpose. And I traded. And I was like, I want this. Now, I'm not saying like in order to have purpose and peace that you have to be in ministry. I'm just saying I knew that was the choice I was making. So my articulation of call was always like, well, I know at what point that I decided.
Yeah.
But what I would say, and what I still would say, is I can look back on all these circumstances that led up to this. And what I believe is this is who God made me to be.
Wow.
And it wasn't like one thing.
Yeah.
It was like God's always been saying this to me.
Yeah.
Now, there was a point where I made a big decision about it. And then what I now believe and experienced is vocation is not about hearing God's voice one time. It's about hearing God's voice. And this is what Hebrews says, hearing God's voice when? Every day that's called today.
Yeah.
This is the place. And without this, I don't think we as men will ever experience peace and purpose unless we hear God's voice every day in what we do, and not just in the times where we're not doing something.
Yeah.
And we've talked a lot about this. That is, if our call in Christianity corporately is sit, sing, serve, give, and then our call individually is now go read and pray. I do think it leaves us at the spot of like, yeah, but I'm kind of hungry to risk. I want to have something to build and something to fight for. Like I want to be able to dream. Like there's not that drive or aspiration that's in all that stuff.
Yeah.
But there is in the promised land.
Yeah.
And so, maybe talk your journey in that, or even what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. Well, I can definitely identify with what you're saying, and the fact that we as men, we're designed to fight a battle. We're designed to build. We're designed to to do something, right? And so I think, we don't talk about that enough. Yes. And how to I guess follow God's calling in that. And I think what you're saying and what I'm interested to hear more about is like, so you're saying this isn't about a one-time thing. This is about hearing God's voice on a daily basis.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So that sounds good. But what is that? I mean, so you did have this moment, of where you surrendered. Basically, you surrendered. You said, okay, I'm going to choose God's path, and I'm going to let go of what I have, and I'm going to risk it for that.
Yes.
And I don't know what that's going to look like, but I'm going to risk it. So
so I mean, so well said. Like probably let's even jump off of that. The place of surrender is not necessarily the only place to hear God's voice. It would be the place of responding to the voice that you've been hearing.
Okay.
Of like, God, I'm going to stop trying to live out my dreams or the American dream. Yep. What is your desire for me? And will my desire match up with that? And will I not like take the safe route? Yeah. Which I do think as a young man, you're like, whatever, especially before you have a wife and kids, you know, because you're like, because you're actually probably pretty content to eat ramen and live in a cave, and if you're not, you're like, it's fine, for a season, but then you get married and you're like, oh man, I can't put that woman in a cave, because you have this thing of like, I need to take care of her. This is my queen, my bride. And so there's, the responsibility of that multiplies. And then I do think sometimes we just take easier pathways in a self-protection mode.
Yes, that's what it is,
Yeah.
self-protection.
But I think we have to realize when we risk with God, He protects us.
Yeah.
He provides for us.
Yeah.
And that really was that divergent path for me. It was, to say beige walls and all that stuff. It really and even being alone, because who wants to marry a poor dude, right?
Yeah.
That was what was in my mind. It was really a, God, I trust you, and I'm going to surrender and I'm going to risk.
Yeah.
If we think about what moved certain Israelites from the place of the desert into the place of promise, it was risking with God.
Yeah.
It was a new point of surrender.
Yeah.
We're going to put the ark of God on our shoulders, or at least on the shoulder of the Levites, and they're going to put their feet into a flood stage, Jordan River.
Yeah.
And then they're going to watch God open it up.
Yeah.
And then they're going to pull stones out on the other side and set them up and say, let's not forget
What God did.
what God did.
Yeah.
We forgot before.
Yeah.
We didn't have any stones that we pulled out of the Red Sea. We should have pulled some stones. So, so that not only we wouldn't forget that God actually did this, but that our children wouldn't forget.
Yeah.
And then that's where they set that up at Gilgal. Gilgal became the staging point for every conquest throughout. And so every risk that they took from there forward was on the foundation of a first risk.
Yeah.
And then they would hear God's voice again and say, God, we remember what you did.
Yeah.
We remember what you did at Jordan. We remember what you did at Jericho. We remember what you did at Ai. We remember what you did at and we even remember now what you did in Egypt.
Yeah.
And so therefore, I think it was 31 kings and 16 nations that the Israelites overtook in the promised land.
Yeah.
That was really about God establishing a home for all of them there.
Yeah.
That was whatever enemy sets up itself against you, whether wild beast or whether wild kingdoms, like, I am your provider, and I proved that in the desert.
Yeah.
And so if I can take over a superpower, if I can manipulate all of nature, then you can trust me to take this next step. And I do think that's a huge part of getting into the place of living a life as a vocation. I don't think you have to change jobs.
Yeah. Okay.
I think sometimes we can change jobs. That's not what I'm trying to say with this, and I don't believe that.
Yeah.
I think there's so much of it that is about how we interact with what we are currently doing that allows us to participate in God's promise. And that is the place of vocation. So job, occupation, vocation. Vocation being every day, and this is why the talk that we had last time is so important. Every day that's called today, if you hear His voice, it's not just a voice of inactivity. It is, oh, Austin, just be with me, stay with me, like rest with me.
Yeah.
God's voice is a voice that, just like yesterday, that says, hey, there's a project to be done today.
Yep.
And what is it? It's laying sod. Well, that's very temporary. No, it's not. We can do this in a way that's very eternal.
Yeah.
Like, this is what can be produced through that. And I think that's where it's not about, because otherwise, what the Word of God says is, whatever you do it as unto the Lord, as though you're working for His service. And so it's this declaration. There is no actual temporary thing that you're doing. Everything you do in the temporary is to participate with me in the eternal.
Yeah. That's so good. Okay, so we're going to transition, right?
Yeah.
Into hearing God's voice on the next podcast.
Sounds great. So let's finish off with this, that if we're at the place where God wants us to hear His voice every day, not just in the place of rest, but also in the place of working from a place of rest, what does the voice of God sound like? How does God speak to us?
Yeah.
How do we know it's His voice? How do we respond in the right way? Yeah. And what I believe is, I think every day God's voice comes at least in 3 distinct utterances. the voice of direction,
Okay.
the voice of affection, and the voice of reflection. And man, it'd be fun. We'll talk about that next time.
I'm pumped. That's why I brought it up, because I'm
Yeah.
like, you guys got to come back and listen to this, because this is
Yeah.
going to be
Yeah,
this is gonna be good.
And here's the hope: is like hopefully we can get to a place. I think a lot of this is like this is theological,
Yeah.
and it's like conceptual. What we want to get to is practical.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so if you're like, man, how do I practically do this? Know that we're not like trying to skip over the practice. We're trying to lay the foundation. And so we'll talk way more practice next time. It'll be awesome.
That's awesome. Okay. Thank you guys for joining us. Man, we love you guys, and just pray that you are that you receive some benefit out of this, just like we do as we talk through this. And man, so come back and join us next time.